All right, that should do it. I've tightened all the bolts and rivets on the time machine here. Been acting a little finicky lately, but like any machine, it does need its fair share of maintenance. This is capable of going decades into the past to fetch some really great comic books to review. And we're going to be traveling and getting into some comic books. As you can see, there are a lot of mechanical parts in here, little screws and dials, and we're going to put this coin from the 1950s and see what goodies we can bring up. Turning this over, we're going to put the coin right in there, and here we go to the 1950s. Let me introduce you to my time machine here. Right on the front, we see here that it's the Duncan Miller 60-minute time machine. It gives us time with the comic books for up to an hour. So we have to time ourselves and pace ourselves right here. Duncan parking meter that doubles up as a very effective time traveling device. You can see all the mechanical parts in there, little cogs turning, especially this one here to keep the rhythm of the machine. This right now is looking to fetch our first comic book, and it's going to bring us a total of 5. And it's really neat to see all those gears and mechanisms working right there. Before you know it, we'll have our first comic book as the time machine is clicking and whirring and giving flashes of light, and it will be Out of This World, literally, with Out of This World, issue number 9 from August of 1958. And this is a beautiful cover. You see the time elements of the clocks and the arrows, very surreal looking and a lot of fun, with the scientist in the middle there with his arms outstretched. Could this be time traveling? Could this be transcending the fifth dimension? In this book, we have 2 stories that do translate through time from Steve Ditko before he took part in creating Spider-Man. And this features 2 stories artfully done with science fiction and dramatic element. Even looking at the first page and the splash page, we have right here humanity controlling robots. And this is relative to today, as we talk more about artificial intelligence and AI. We have humans as leaders and on top of the robots looking down just to give them control. Over time, these robots revolt and create a union, which is very interesting that some of the humans foresaw. Great artwork here by Steve Ditko, those line works of spaceships, very recognizable artwork that he has done. Luckily, all is not lost with humanity, as the innocence of children and emotion and thought prevail, causing the robots to take a turn in their decision. You can even see the stoicism of the robots lined up, the worry and preoccupation by the human counterpart. Another Ditko story is right in the book early on with Manana about a successful wine manufacturer and entrepreneur, and as he teaches a lesson to his sons that are growing trees. So it talks about motivation and laziness in this short story. Then we get into the desk and solving mysteries in the office and some more interesting characters and hunting and meeting. So it's just such a variety of action that you don't see today in 2024, but was something that was common and imaginative back in the 50s and early on. So we have also stories about the Wild West, tribesmen encountering leaders, as you could see right there, and powers and mysticism that are beyond imagination, literally, and are out of this world, including a lightning gun right here being pioneered. So there are no limits, a lot of great stories, fun advertising for gifts and prizes. Charles Alice probably selling fitness equipment in this out of this world comic right here. All right, time travelers, let's slip away from this book on to December of 1952, where we have a more rare book, Lost World, number 6. There are 2 issues, number 5 and 6, that were published of this particular magazine. And here we have such a fun cover with sci-fi invasion. And here we have outlaws of space. You can see the lady being captured by the claws of the ants and the astonishing views of the people and the skyscrapers in the background. Love the lettering on top, really screams sci-fi action. The subtle tones in the background and the action right in the foreground. Artwork by Alex Toth, also working for Fantastic Four in the future, but here in the past, in 1952, he had a hand in some sci-fi and dramatic stories in this book right here. So looking at the beauty of this cover, a lot of fun, a lot of thrill and action to behold. And jumping into this book, we open it up right away. We have an advertisement for all those aspiring artists to draw comics, to draw me right here. Anyone can take a shot and mail in that letter to have a chance of being judged. The splash page opens up right with cartoon art and comics, and we have mysterious men right here that possess a special power that can sometimes control or subdue humankind. So here we get into a story right away, but the artwork is tremendous. Alex Toth did most of the artwork in some of these stories. Also, Ross Andru, well known for Wonder Woman. Ross Andru had a hand in some of the art and inking as well, and we can see some of that sci-fi elements, including some UFOs right there, the shading of a planet right there. So this was fun. This was 1952, and this was also Standard Comics that gave us some thrilling tales, including the famous line, Thrilling Comic, that was a publication of Standard Comics. So just looking through, we see the colors, the faces, the action, and sometimes some monsters and creatures coming up, which made for hokey fun. Looking here, the men with fire are trying to show their strength and confidence, but with science, mankind is able to find a wrinkle in their design and plan to prevail and show strength, and a happy ending with the lady at hand right there. So fun stories, a total of 4 to 5, including a small featurette here with the space platform, very Flash Gordon-like, very space adventure-like, and much like Charlton Comics that also had some of these types, this book has it too. An interesting note, Rocky Mastricerio, who also did a lot of artwork for Charlton Comics, has some artwork in here. Lionel Trainad in between. So with some of that artwork, Rocky Mastricerio, John Solardo, Ross Andru, Alex Toth, all in this Standard Comic Lost World number 6. This is a space race. Look at the rockets lined up, ready to launch. Look at the eye contact being made there. You can see the tension of competition at hand. And you can see some deviant tricks up the sleeves. And you know there's going to be some unfairness unraveling, and a fight or two as well, including a double-fisted pump right to each of those guys. So really fun, going through the goalposts, and light speed action is that space race. And what's interesting, the cover shows giant aliens attacking that you would think would be in the book. Unfortunately, there are no ants in the book, but more space themes, including the Outlaws of Space right here in the rocket ship. Reminds me again of Charlton Comics and Space Wars, which was a great series. Space Adventures, one that I've always loved, and we have that artwork there. That could even be Dale from Flash Gordon, but it isn't. It's another character, and more cosmic action right there. So a lot of sci-fi, a lot of fun books, or stories rather, and interesting expressions. It's kind of funny how he's drawn over there. So we have more, this time the first man to reach the moon, another story in the book. Robots again, just like we talked about at the beginning, artificial intelligence. Will robots work hand in hand and be droids to help humankind? We'll have to find out and see. Look at the expressions right there. You can feel the emotion. It's palatable and a lot of fun. And if that's not enough to tell you who the audience is, like teenagers, we have a pimple solution and a freaky, scary doll right there. You know, Captain Strangelove, he kind of likes these crazy toys, and hope he's watching, because there's one right there, Captain. And the back cover. Great prizes. So, a rare book, one of two. This is issue number 6. There is a number 5 that has a dragon cover engulfing and enclosing on a rocket ship. So, 1952 was an atomic time with space travel and great covers like movie posters like this one here. All right, let's get out of 1952 and get onto a rocket and fly to 1955 to see 2 rare books from Entertaining Comics, short EC comic, with these 2 books right here. They're 2 out of a 5-issue run where it's a new direction for EC Comics, typically known for gory tales, fright, and books that parents would not approve of. In fact, as you see here, there's no comic authority code on this first issue of Impact Comics, but on the second, we have it right there, and a disclaimer that the book promises to go in a more heartfelt new direction, offering slice of life experiences rather than gore and just some rough scenery for kids to see. Jumping onto the scene is a Jack Davis cover for this Impact number 1 issue, and we see a lot going on here. A man keeping his cool in the background while this man is manically running to get away. You can only imagine what this story is about. There are 5 stories in total, each about a particular serious and dramatic event that includes the dress, the necklace pendant, the punch bowl. This one is a scene from the Master Race depicting the Holocaust and what comes after, and other stories as well. So Impact Comics is a different direction, aimed to give more stories and have the reader ponder about introspection and thinking. And let's read on. These stories are more serious. You'll notice the polished imaging here, the square frames that EC is typically known for, and leaving a bit of a margin on the bottom of their comic. We can see here some serious scenes right there, and this is kind of equivalent to watching some 911 shows on TV. It offers some drama, it's more true to life, and it really is a more serious tone. You can see the dark colors. The colors here are actually by Marie Severin, that we know later worked for Marvel in this earlier 1955 book. You can see some of the thoughts and all the text in the bubbles right there, some of the scenery. So there's a lot going on. See some of the artwork there, the detail. This is from the necklace, which is actually based on a novel from the 1800s, 1886 or so. And you can see that the rendition is retold here, the theme of it. You can see the ad page for EC Comics here featuring Valor, Aces High, another series with the World War I biplanes, psychoanalysis, more psychological thrillers. EC offered a lot of those different tiers and genre, and Impact aims for just the real life suspense. The dress, the title there, you can see everybody gathered. Of particular note, what makes this book unique, the very final story is called The Master Race, and it unfortunately chronicles some of the atrocities during World War II and the Holocaust, but in particular, one of the guardsmen eventually becomes a public citizen, and one of the inmates pursues him and threatens him to the point where that guardsman becomes more insane and has thoughts of that he's going to be murdered. So there's a lot of graphic images here that I prefer not to show, but at the end, the inmate merely walks on the platform while the once warden of the prison camps runs and comes to his demise. But there's a lot of detail and artwork in this book that should be noted. Bernie Krigstein is credited with the artwork. Also, Al Feldstein co-wrote this story. And it's unique because this comes 10 years after the close of World War II, and this is already in the comic medium. It also reminds me of the Moss series by Art Spiegelman, as he depicted the atrocities of the Holocaust in World War II with the mouse characters as a symbol of what was going on. In June of 1955, we have the second issue of Impact Comics, this time talking more about family life, including subjects of divorce and relationships and real life slices of life of what happened that sometimes is not rosy. Mother knows best, that's a true statement. And in this story, we have some of that artwork of thinking and some more psychoanalysis right there. So EC was always one to push their stories to the edge, sometimes provocative, sometimes kind of burned in our memory, some scenes that are rather graphic. And here we have using like drugs and poison and the ramifications of what it means to the family. So very serious notes. Here divorce is in the title. In a way, I guess it's meant for the artists and writers to portray real life and that things do happen. You can see some of the artwork here, the boy running away. So a lot of these are kind of in a way rather dark. The artwork is stellar. Marie Severin's credited with the colors rather. Adding to your stamp collection. And those were two very intense comics from EC Comics with those stories. Let me know if you've heard of Impact Comics, or what is your favorite EC title? Was it Tales from the Crypt? Was it Weird Science? Let me know in the comments below. Let's jump to 1963. Wait a minute, 1963? We're talking about the 50s in Rare Comics. Well, this is cheating in a way because Super Comics published reprint, and this one reprinted from 1951, The White Princess of the Jungle, Ta'anta. Ta'anta is a lot like Sheena and also mimics Planet Comics, Ka'anga, so with all the language and accent, we're talking about the jungle, animals, adventures, taming wild animals, and jumping into a lot of fun. The book here features right over here a wonderful splash page with some crocodile, alligator fighting action there. Always seeing the jungle print. Does look a lot like Sheena. We have more of the redhead. If Anthony is watching, I know he loves his redheads, and this is a fun, great rendition with the tribesmen up ahead right there, the leopards and cheetahs. So a lot of fun. Just takes you away from the present, more fantasy-like. See the tribesmen giving their usual wisdom, and of course we have Ta'anta working with the locals and trying to mediate and bring peace. And more fun panels right here. We have the waterways, we have safari hats, low-hanging branches by the river, and alligators popping up. So it's pretty neat to see all the action right there. At one point, I confused myself with Sheena of the Jungle and Shanna, which was from Marvel, because there are a lot of swipes that happen in comics with very similar story arcs. And here we have this great, look at the lion there. We have Swinging on the Vine. So a little bit of sensuality mixed with jungle adventure, somewhat raw and created by the artist. And this book happens to reprint the first issue of the comic book printed in 1951 by Avon. Happens to be White Princess of the Jungle. A lot of stripy action right there. Talk about putting overtime in for inking. But if you're trying to go out camping and you need some entertainment, there's no TV, you have some great stories right there. So I wanted to show you this book, even though it's a reprint from 1963 by Super Comics, also IW Comics. Israel Waldman had purchased print presses to reproduce these comics, but he didn't have the intellectual property or rights for the stories. And during a short span, up until 1964, he was able to print almost 300 different comics using the print presses that he acquired from defunct comic companies. So we have these reproduction, and we have him to thank. In the back of it, we have a completely different story, Captain Courage. Look at the contrast and detail of that. Right there looks very futuristic in terms of the style. Really neat to see that. So without Super Comics and IW Comics, we wouldn't have access to a lot of these Golden Age books in an affordable manner. Look at the artwork right there. Very neat. His chin is coming off the panel right there. That's kind of neat that they thought about that back in 1951. Jungle Adventures. And it's always a joy when this time machine is working properly. You just have to make sure to get the nuts and bolts tight enough. Thank you for joining me as we traveled and explored some unique books from the 1950s using a time token from that era. If you like what you saw, please comment below. Let me know some of your experiences reading EC Comics, Lost Worlds, or any of the books that were shown. Like and subscribe, and happy time traveling.